Have you ever looked at two crystals that seem totally identical and wondered how an expert can tell one is just a pretty rock and the other is a priceless treasure? Well, it's not some kind of magic trick. It's all about cracking a secret code that's literally written in light. And today, we're going to learn how to read it.
So let's set the scene. You've got two clear, sparkly crystals in front of you. To the naked eye, they're twins. But one is worth a fortune, and the other, not so much. The secret to telling them apart isn't on the surface. Nope, it's hidden deep inside the stone itself.
And that hidden property? You can think of it like a secret fingerprint. Every single type of gemstone has one. And once you learn how to read it, you can unlock its true identity.
Now, this fingerprint isn't a pattern or a mark you can see with your eyes. It's all about how the gemstone interacts with light. See, when a beam of light passes through the stone, the gem's unique internal structure actually bends that light at a very specific and, more importantly, a very measurable angle. That measurement has a name, the refractive index, or RI for short. It's a precise number, a value that's unique to each and every gem species. Think of it like this. A diamond has one RI, quartz has a totally different one, and a piece of glass has its own. So the key is, if you can measure this number, you can identify the gem. Simple as that.
So how in the world do we measure this light-bending fingerprint? Well, for that, we need to pop open the gemologist's detective toolkit.
And the star of this toolkit, the main gadget for our investigation, is the Refractometer. This amazing little device is built for one job and one job only, to precisely measure the refractive index of a gemstone and give us that all-important number.
Of course, the refractometer doesn't work alone. It's got a crew. You're going to need a special RI fluid to get a perfect optical connection, a good light source to make the reading sharp and clear, and of course, a reference guide. Think of it as your book of fingerprints to match your findings against.
Okay, with our toolkit all laid out, we are ready to begin the investigation. It's a pretty precise process, but if you break it down, it's really just a straightforward 5-step method to revealing any gem's true identity.
But wait, before we jump in, a few pro tips are absolutely crucial if you want to get an accurate reading. First, always use a flat, polished surface on the gem, no bumpy bits. Second, and this is a big one, use just a tiny dot of that RI fluid. Too much will actually mess up the reading. Third, use a single color or monochromatic light source. It'll give you the sharpest result. And finally, always make sure your tool is calibrated. Just test a known stone like quartz first to make sure it's reading correctly.
All right, let's walk through it. Once your tools are ready, you put that tiny drop of RI fluid on the refractometer's crystal. Then you gently slide a flat surface of your gem right onto that fluid. Now you look through the eyepiece to find the reading, and finally, you take that number and match it to your reference chart to make the ID. See? Totally systematic.
So, you've done the test, but what are you actually looking for? What does this reading even look like? This is where we learn to decode the clues the refractometer is giving us.
When you peek through the eyepiece, you're not going to just see a number pop up. You'll see a scale, and on that scale, there will be this really distinct line where a lighter area meets a darker one. That boundary is called the shadow edge, and wherever that edge falls on the scale, that is your refractive index reading.
So, for example, let's say you take a reading, and that sharp shadow edge lands right smack between 1.54 and 1.55 on the scale. That very specific number is the clue we've been hunting for. So what do you do with it? You take your reading, that number between 1.54 and 1.55, and you check it against your reference guide. You scan down the list and you find the entry for quartz, and what do you know? It's a perfect match. That specific range is the fingerprint for quartz. Boom. You've just made a positive identification.
But hold on, because there's a really cool twist. Some gems, which we call singly refractive, give you just one steady shadow edge. But others, known as birefractive, actually split the light into two paths. For these stones, you have to rotate the gem while you're looking. And if you see that shadow edge move, or you see two different edges, you know you're dealing with a birefractive stone, which is another massive clue to what it is.
The refractometer is, without a doubt, an incredibly powerful tool. I mean, in just a few seconds, it gives you one of the most critical pieces of data for identifying a gem. But in professional gemology, the case is never really closed with just one test. You know, as the experts always say, the refractometer is often the first and maybe the most important step. But a final, 100% certain identification sometimes needs other tests. And that's just because a few different gems can have really similar RI readings. The refractometer narrows down the suspects, and other tools confirm the final verdict.
So, there you have it. The refractometer lets us read a gem's first and most important secret, that unique fingerprint written in light. It turns a simple observation into hard data. So the real question is, once you've uncovered this secret, what other mysteries does a gemstone hold, and what other tools are you going to need to find them?